This anime centers on a middle schooler who suddenly gets an immortal power after being beaten up. Kano Toda gets an immortal power after meeting Yukihime, also known as Evangeline, who gives him immortal power like herself. His presence as an immortal human causes him to get targeted by organizations to protect themselves. He trains to get stronger with an organization called Yuki Holder. It is an organization which oversees immortal humans founded by Yukihime as one of the most powerful wizards who saved the world. The story opens with Kano Toda and his friends who try to attack Yukihime, but they get punched by Yukihime. As a result, they are thrown and fall into the pool. Yukihime is a teacher in a school where Toda is. The students are allowed to fight him as the requirement for graduation and leave the village to climb the mysterious tower which keeps any unrevealed secret. Amano Mihasura is a tower which stands through the sky and connects the earth and the other life above it. Kano Toda dreams to go there to satisfy his curiosity. Toda is an orphan. He has taken care and lived with Yukihime since he was a child. As he went to his parents' grave, he met his grandfather who told him that he was waiting for him on top of the tower. Every day, Toda and his friends attempt to fight Yukihime so that he can graduate from the school, but they can be defeated easily by their teacher. One day, Tachibana-sensei helps them, using magic to defeat Yukihime. One afternoon as their plan, Toda immediately attacks Yukihime with magic given from Takabana. But it changes as the magic is actually a trap that has been planned by Takabana for Yukihime by taking advantage of his students. Takabana is a hitman whose mission is to kill one of the strongest magician and vampire, Yukihime. Toda comes to help, but he gets cut by Tachibana's sword and loses his arm. Now, Tachibana intends to kill his friends to end his mission. That's when Yukihime gives Toda a choice to become an immortal human to save his friends or witnessing his friends to die without doing anything. Toda then drinks Yukihime's blood and he turns into an immortal man or vampire and helps his friends who are being Takabana's target. Toda wakes up on Yukihime's lap. He feels glad for saving his friends from death. Since then, Yukihime explains who he truly is. He reveals that he is an immortal vampire who has lived for 700 years. Toda's parents died in a car crash and entrusted their son to him to be taken care of. To protect himself and his friends, Toda and Yukihime decide to leave the village and climb the Amano Miyashira Tower that is located in the capital. As most of the world has been destroyed, there is no transportation facility available, and this requires Yukihime and Toda to walk to their destination. On the way, Toda meets a woman named Tokisaka Kurumaru having bath in a river. Misunderstanding happens, causing both of them involved in a fight. It is revealed that Kurumaru comes from above the tower and she is descended to hunt the immortal beings like Toda and Yukihime to prove herself worthy to her family. The situation is getting worse as Kurumaru doesn't find Toda's shadow, which is a characteristic of the immortal beings. Her meeting with Yukihime causes Kurumaru to attack her. However, Kurumaru is too weak for Yukihime and she can be easily defeated. In a second, Kurumaru faints as she is hit by Yukihime's attack. Luckily, Kurumaru is still survived with her regeneration. Finally, Toda replaces Yukihime and must fight Kurumaru, which the loser should follow the winner's words. The fight between the two of them can be said to be equal, and it is not yet known who the winner will be, but Toda with his tricks can win this fight. Toda then asks Kurumaru to be his friend and accompany him as immortal beings. As he mentioned before, he wants to gather many friends to accompany his immortal life. After that incident, they drop by at a hot spring by the road. Here, Tuda intends to peek on Yukiheim, although he isn't really interested with Yukiheim because he has been living together since long. But Tuda is surprised to find a little girl, which is the true form of Yukiheim. Seeing her child figure, Tuda loses his interest in continuing his action. Yukiheim then attacks Tuda with his magic and kicks him. After that, they continue their journey and are welcomed by Yukiheim's subordinate, consist of Karen Yuki and other members of an organization called Yuki Holder. This is an organization which consists of immortal humans leading by Yukiheim, or known as Evangeline, who is the strongest magician who saved the world. They board on a ship and are taken to Yuki Holder base in an area called Senkyoken. They are welcomed by Yuki Holder member number 6, Makabe Jenguru, and Yuki Holder member number 10, Eku Ameya. In Yuki Holder, the numbering system is used to measure how strong the members are. The less number they have means the stronger they are. To become a part of Yuki Holder, Tuda and Kurumaru are tested by Makabe and IQ. If they can hit Makabe and IQ, they pass the test and officially become members of Yuki Holder. Tuda will fight Kurin. In this battle, there is a wide gap between their power, causing Kurumaru and Tuda to have a hard time dealing with their opponents. Suddenly, Tuda gets a mysterious call that makes him to enter a room and meets Yuki Holder member number 2, Shishido Jinbei. He is the strongest person in the organization after Yukiheim. He then tells Tuda to pull out a gravity sword stuck in a rock. If he can pull it out, the sword can be his. In addition, the sword is one of the strongest swords ever forged. Many people have tried to pull it out but failed in their efforts. In his first attempt, Tuda manages to pull it out after the sword tells him to turn a button. After removing it, Tuda also receives a tutorial from Jinbei about the use of the sword. It is known that the weight of the sword can be adjusted multiply to make a great attack. In order to master the sword, they are trained by Jinbei. After their long training, they continue the previous Yuki Holder admission test. Their training with Jinbei seems to work on them. Kurumaru passes the test after her attack hit her target. Different from her, Tuda, who almost succeeds with his attack, must stop his fight to save Shinobu, who is attacked by a group of Godzillas, which appears from unknown. With 500,000 times gravity power, the Godzilla disappear. Besides that, due to the hit wave which hits Kurin, Kano Tuda pass the test. On their first day as members of Yuki Holder, Tuda and Kurumaru carry out a mission with Kurin to protect the slum from the enemy attacks who wants to exterminate the residents who are considered illegal. In his mission, Tuda tries to maximize his shundo technique, a lightning speed instant movement. Coincidentally, he meets a man who is also skillful in the technique. Tuda is amazed with the man since he is so skilled in using the technique. To max out his shundo technique, Tuda needs to use his feet in his daily life. It makes Tuda is more proficient in the very short time. Day after day, he passes with high dedication to master the technique until one day the long-awaited attack from the enemy finally arrives. Led by an old man named Nagumo and consists of Kato and Shaw, they descend into the slums to scorch the inhabitants and the slums. Even though he has changed into his wolf form, Tuda still recognizes Kaito as his master. Tuda cannot believe that Kaito is a bad person. One by one, the inhabitants and Yuki Holder members are attacked. On the other hand, Karen gets hit by Cha while she is having bath. As a result, she cannot do anything due to the shadow attack. Apart from that, Tuda and Kurumaru also must face Nagumo and his men. Tuda then gets hit by Kaito and is sealed in his werewolf form, causing him to lose his conscience. Kurumaru then fights werewolf-formed Kaito. She has a hard time dealing with him and is finally defeated. Ruffy cannot stand it and tries to protect them, although he doesn't have any skills and is nearly killed by Kaito. Just then, Tuda wakes up from his seal and turns to help Ruki in time. Tuda awakens his magical ability called Magia Arabia, a legendary magic skill which is known only to be possessed by two magicians who saved the world, Negi Springfield and Yukiheim. This ability awakens after Tuda cannot hold his anger. The scene moves to Karen, who is tortured by Cha. As known from her past, Karen was considered a magician and was chased and burnt alive by the villagers. However, she didn't get injured at all. After the incident, Karen was considered a holy woman, the god's messenger. She then decided to leave the village. Yuki Holder number 4, Karen, turned into immortal human and wanted to change her life following Yukiheim. Finally, Karen manages to turn things around. Finished with her battle, the scene then moves to Tuda. It is seen that Tauta finally manages to make a quick gain due to his Magia Aribia. Instead of being afraid, Kato is getting excited even though he gets total defeat in few punches. Just then, Kirin arrives to protect Kurumaru and Ruki. To show their huge strength different, Kato shows his secret technique. Though he is lost, Tuta instead awakens the full power of Magia Aribia. Tauta's heart, which has been destroyed, recovers quickly. Magia Arabia's power makes Tuta to have extraordinary strength, but at the risk of losing his mind at the battle. Kaito is unable to fight Tuta. In his last moment, suddenly Tuta stops attacking Kaito and he gets his mind controlled back. Finally, their battle finishes with an arm wrestling contest. Tauta manages to win over Kaito with his power without the help of Magia Aribia. It makes everyone amazed with his true power as an immortal human. However, even though they win the battle, the entire village and town are burned down. All the residents lose their homes and must be evacuated. Fortunately, Yukam arrives and casts her ice magic to rescue the villagers. Seeing her arrival, Kaito and his men decide to withdraw from the battle. At least the residents can return to their homes, and thanks to the help of Yukiheim and UQ Holder members, the residents of the slums village can be rescued and returned to their homes. Moving to other scene, Kurumaru is caught bathing by Kirin. Kurumaru explains she is from Yatagarasa family, a family which has unique characteristics where everyone in her family has two genders. This makes Kurumaru confused to decide one of them. Kirin and Iku, who know Kurumaru's potential to like Tauta, forced Kurumaru to go on a date with Tuta. Kurumaru changes her appearance into woman and pretends to be Kurumaru's sister. They walk around the town and tower to spend time together. Unfortunately, they are tailed and attacked by Hu, the shadow controller. Apart from that, Kurumaru is immediately beaten up, while Tuta is caught in the shadow dimension. Kurumaru, who is desperate and unable to fight, decides to change her appearance to her male body, as it turns out that her female form is too weak to fight. Fortunately, Tuta is able to be taken out and rescued from the shadow dimension that has been prepared by Cha. After that, we are introduced to a new character named Sakura Kiri. She is UQ Holder member number 9 who is able to control the time. When meeting Tauta for the first time, she is seen with a wary expression. As she is talking to Tauta, suddenly he gets cut by a mysterious figure. Luckily, in her last time she manages to bring Tuta to the past to return the time. Kiri returns to the turning point she made like in a game. Kiri's ability is returning to the storage point to replay a game. The reason why she is annoyed with Tuta is because Tuta always avoids her left-hand grasp to go back in time to avoid the enemy. Repeating the same time, now Tuta can protect Kiri from Cha's attack. From the attack, it is seen that Tuta will be kidnapped by Fate Aver Uncas to use in his plan. As predicted, Fate kidnaps Tuta. Although all Yuki Holder members have stepped in, they couldn't do anything. Fortunately, Kiri manages to go back in time and rearrange the plan to save Tauta from Fate, who was considered the #1 enemy in the world. In the past, Fate was Yukiheim's friend and was considered a hero who saved the world. With this information, they plan to attack Fate and to thwart his plan. As they're planned, everyone stands guard in their position to carry out their duty. In their plan, Eku has been prepared satellite weapon to kill Fate. But as they run their mission, Tauta's friends from the village appear, causing Tauta to reluctantly mingle with them. Fate then tells Tuta to follow him without fighting him back, because his comrades are ready to attack him at every location. However, Tuta doesn't want to follow him and decides to fight him. Kiri and Tauta team up to fight him, while Iku attacks him through the satellite. However, their plan fails when Kiri is turned into rock. Because of their failure, Tuta then challenges Fate in a duel, while Kiri fights Jurei as the enemy's subordinate. Kurumaru charges in fighting Azura, while Iku fights the full-body cyborg Fate has been prepared. Tauta and Fate have a huge difference of power. Tauta tries hard to use his gravity blade to turn things around, which is unlikely to be saved. Their plan finally bears fruit because of Kiri's time reverse tactic, and Fate can be sent to the Yuki Holder base to fight Yukiheim. Being cornered, Fate finally admits defeat to Yukiheim. As a reward, The Yuki Holder members, including Tuda, are given a chance to ask him a question which he will answer as he knows all secret in the world. It is revealed that fate intended to kidnap Tauda so that he can save his friend and Tauda's grandfather, same with Yuki Hain but in a different path. As the secret is revealed, Naji Springfield appears and almost succeeds manipulating Tuda. It turns out Tauda's grandfather has been controlled by Yaldabaoth, the mage of beginning whom Yuki Hain, Fate, and Negi had fought. After the incident, UQ Holder Base is visited by Yukihiro Mizor, Yuki Hain's friend's granddaughter. Mizor immediately attacks Tuda because Tauda's grandfather was liked by many people including her grandmother, but in their battle, Mizor asks him to be her husband, making Kiri and Kurumaru worry. In the afternoon, Tuda and Yuki Hain talk about the secret that she was hiding all this time. It turns out that Tauda's grandfather, Neji Springfield, is said to be one of the strongest magicians who saved the world with her. He is a great man that makes Yuki Hain likes him until now, even though he is controlled by magician Yaldabaoth as a consequence for defeating him. All this time, Fate and Yuki Hain had tried to save Negi, but they ended up in a conflict due to their different ways. Yuki Hain also tells Tuda that he is a clone from Negi and wasn't born normally as a human. Even though he is shocked with the fact that he doesn't have a family, his UQ Holder friends invite him to attend Mahora Martial Arts Tournament. It is a martial art tournament that is held for the magicians and immortal beings. Tauda plans to take part in the tournament, but because the participants are already full, Tuda cannot register in the tournament. After that, Tuda is introduced to Yuki Hain's classmate. Tauda's presence slightly reduces their longing for Negi. After their meeting, for some reason one participant withdraws from the tournament, allows Tuda to replace him as a participant. As his opponent, Tuda must fight a woman named Cutlass who is in fact a clone of Negi, just like himself. In that match, Tuda loses badly even after he uses Magia Arabia. Cutlass uses the demon exorcising sword, which is the counterattack towards Tuda, who is an immortal vampire. Suddenly, Negi Springfield appears and targets Tuda. Yuki Hain doesn't stay still and she immediately attacks Negi to protect his student. Corinne and Kurumaru come to help them because there are many Negi's men are sent to catch Tuda. They are Yu, the magician of knowledge, Nodoka, the mind reader, and Jack-Rakan, the hitman and the swordsman. To separate Tauda from Yuki Hain, he is then taken to other dimension by Kunal, the creator of the gravity sword, and Negi Springfield's subordinate. Kunal is in charge of convincing Tuda and manipulate him. At that time, Tuda is shown all Yuki Hain's past, which used to follow and like Negi. Consumed by this manipulation, this gap is taken advantage by the mage of beginning to show his true form. He attacks Tuda and captures Yuki Hain in her past. Tauda turns to save Yuki Hain and promises to protect her and always be with her forever. Yuki Hain then realizes that this world is merely a fantasy land belongs to the mage of beginning so that everything can be controlled as he pleases. Fortunately, they are helped by Kagurazaka Asuna, Tauda's grandmother and Yuki Hain's friend in the past. Her appearance is caused by Tauda's presence, which keeps a part of her memories from Asuna's past life. Luckily, Asuna manages to bring them out of the fantasy dimension, but UQ Holder must be prepared to fight in the real world because the battle is still going on. Tauda is the key to defeat Yaldabaoth. In these 37 seconds, he must buy time in the real world. Tauda must fight Yaldabaoth one-on-one to buy the time. Apart from that, he is also helped by Yuki Hain and Aver Unkis, who later meet with Negi. In this moment, Negi actually asks Fate to kill him, but Fate cannot do that. Meanwhile, Yuki Hain, who is separated for a long time, can only hug him in this encounter. However, because of the use of Magia Arabia by Yaldabaoth, Yuki Hain and Fate can be easily defeated. Even Tuda is completely slaughtered in his Magia Arabia mode. The power of Magia Arabia and the title of Human Savior Hero seem no joke for him. The entire UQ Holder members are defeated. Tuda is stabbed several times, while Curry, who plans to turn back the time, is tortured by Negi Springfield's man. Even so, everything is certainly in plan. Yaldabaoth is successfully trapped and taken to the dimension where Negi's students are. Thanks to Asuna, Negi slowly gains his control of himself. Apart from that, he can be detained and he decides to retreat from the battle. He can wait for Tuda in the next battle on top of the tower. Fate also decides to retreat and goes on his plan to save Nagy Springfield. In the last scene, it is seen Tuda confessing his feelings to her because he realizes that he likes her. This is the end of the Anime UQ Holder Nejima 2. Thanks for watching.